guys, and welcome to episode 91 of the Crochet Cakes podcast, a podcast about crafting, crochet. So today, I have a couple of things I want to share with you. I'm going to share with you the end of the hashtag LatinXMal 2020. I'm going to be sharing some deep stash dives. I'm going to be sharing some future plans for crochet and design, I think. And I even have a finished object to share with you today. So without further ado, let's get cracking and let's chat about the hashtag LatinXMakerMal 2020. So the hashtag LatinXMakerMal 2020 was a mal that I decided to host to share with you kind of a new wave in my life of exploring crochet in as many languages as possible, as well as honoring my heritage as a Puerto Rican, Latina, Hispanic. I am both. And so I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the two participants that played along with me in this adventure. And since I had two participants, I decided that instead of just doing one giveaway, I am going to be doing two, and I'm basically going to be giving away a pattern of their choice for up to $10. So if the pattern that they choose is less than $10, they get to choose two. And I'm going to be private messaging them on Ravelry or Instagram because they participated in both the Instagram hashtag and the Ravelry thread. And one of the participants made a sock garland, a mini sock garland using Mind and Muse Crafts, who's my mom, her mini sock pattern, which is a free pattern that you can find on her blog. And I'll link it down below, definitely. And it just reminded me how much I want to make one of those socks because I want to hang them on my Christmas tree. And she actually made a Christmas garland. And then one of the other participants was super adventurous and she made the cutest little pumpkin kind of just candy keepsake, which was really cute. And she also made some feathers, which I love feathers. I don't know if I've ever shared that with you. There are many things I love in this world. So yeah, I came to that decision because I just want to thank them for taking this chance to actually deep dive into this new world, crochet world with me. And I'm very, very grateful that they decided to join me on my journey. And I know that a lot of other people wanted to participate too, but time, time gets away from us all. There are many things that I also want to make, and I simply do not seem to have the time to make all the things. And it's almost November. I definitely don't have time to make all the things. So that is it for the hashtag LatinXMakerMal 2020. I may host it again next year for this at the same time because it's Hispanic Heritage Month or Latinx Heritage Month. I may decide to host it again. I may not. We shall see. So that is that. And also, I was wondering why everything seems to be a little yellow. I'm wearing my computer glasses, so... Oh, now I look weird. Oh God. Maybe you should close your eyes and then open them again so I look normal. Okay. So the other thing, in case you're wondering, I am wearing my Mango Tango crop top. It is a free pattern on my blog and it's available in English and in Spanish. It is basically the DK weight version of a bobble and time top, except it's made cropped and the sleeves are entirely different. I'll do the little, no, I'm not going to do the little stand-up shuffle. I'll just insert a picture here so you can see what it looks like. But it's, as I said, a crop top with a bobble stitch border. And then you just double crochet all the way till you split for your sleeves. And then you just do a little bubble border on the sleeve to make it nice and flirty and fun. I really like this color combo actually. It's kind of a tangerine orange with speckles of neon pink, neon green because it's the Lolly yarn by Conway and Bliss, which has been discontinued forever. But I actually managed to find somebody that had 2 balls left of this color, which is the mango color. And I just had to order it from them because I didn't think I was going to have enough yarn. I would have had enough yarn. It's also very, very loose on me. I often say this on my patterns, but I weigh 130, 135, somewhere around there, and I'm a 33 bust and about a 28.5-inch waist. So it's very wide on my waist, and it's kind of smaller at the top because I'm pretty sure it decreased. But anyway, so that's a non-finished object, but it is what I am wearing today. In terms of finished objects, I have a very fun one to share with you. I am not wearing it because it is extremely, extremely warm. And I am, of course, talking about the waistcoat design that I designed for Crochet Luna, who's Claudia, and she's opening a yarn brand called Luna Yarns, and she chose me as one of the people that she would like to test her yarn, give feedback on it, and design a pattern for her. And you know me, at first I was going to design a cushion for this yarn because to me, autumn and cushions, they just go hand in hand. I mean, the first thing I think about when autumn, is around the corner, it's sitting in a little corner myself with a fireplace and a good book, a blanket, and just a pillow I can hug to death, and it makes me feel safe, comfort, and cozy. So with that in mind, I knew I was going to design a cushion, but this yarn is so special that I wanted it even closer to my heart. So I decided to undertake the project of crocheting a garment. And I showed it to you guys in the last podcast, which I will link to here if you haven't seen it. And I talked about how I was working on a border for it. Well, it's all finished now, ends woven in and everything. And I did a little photo shoot, which is a picture I posted on Instagram this past Friday. And I loved it. Oh my God, I had so much fun. But let me show it to you. So what I'm holding up is what I'm calling the Autumn Flame waistcoat vest. It's a super simple piece of crochet that I love. I kid you not, I love it. Okay, so let's start with descriptions. The color is a goldy, orangey, it's golden, but it's got sort of orange undertones. So it looks actually like a less neon version of the mango color that I am wearing. And it's beautiful. I think the color is going to be called butternut, or toasted butternut, or roasted butternut. Something with butternut, definitely. Because autumn, squash. Love squash. Butternut squash soup with Granny Smith apples. Yes. Anyway, so I designed it so that you just chain, and that chain is going to determine the length of your top, because even though we're working in rows, we are going to turn it to then just work on the top of the garment and then the bottom of the garment, which I was hoping would be more stretchy because crochet stretches this way. Well, crochet stretches lengthwise typically, but if you turn your lengthwise into widthwise, it should stretch widthwise, if that made any sense. I have no idea. So yes, that's what I decided to do with this, and what gave me the courage to try and make a garment is what I said last week, that I was browsing through a vintage magazine that I have, and they had crocheted a crop top with worsted weight yarn with a similar yardage. So I thought, okay, I can do this. And it turned out that the design has little to no ease. It's very fitting. So this design is a 28-inch design for a 28-inch waist. So that would make it a sort of a medium-ish, I guess. What I decided to do in my pattern was to not go by small, medium, or large. I just assigned numbers. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the 28-inch waist version, but you could easily adapt it to your size, because all you have to take into account is the stretch of your yarn, so how much it's going to stretch after blocking, and your gauge. So you just really add rows as you need to make it fit your body. And what else can I tell you about this top? It's a very textured stitch. raised stitches that I find absolutely beautiful. And I did do a knit rib in the end. I kind of like the vest without the rib as well, but I think the knit rib gives it a more finished look, and I really like that as well. So my idea was to make a simple design that you could make with 2 to 3 hanks of yarn, depending on how long you wanted it, how wide you wanted it, because I really would like everyone to have the opportunity to try this yarn. Why? Because this yarn is butter. I kid you not. This yarn is butter. It was gliding through my fingers and my hook. I didn't want to put it down. I just wanted to continue working on it all the time. And I kind of did. I think I finished this design pretty fast, if I do say so myself, because I just couldn't put it down. And this is a Z-twist yarn, which, as you know, shows off crochet stitches very well. Here is what the testers and I kind of discussed about the yarn. It does not show textured stitches that well. It'll really depend on the textured stitch. So a bobble stitch doesn't look as great in a Z-twist yarn. So it's really interesting. And if you guys are interested, I'll write up a blog post about my experiences with working with Z-twist yarn, because this is a high twist Z-twist yarn as well. So I found that for being a 50-50 merino alpaca blend, the give, the stretch wasn't that much. But it is such an experience to work with it, and it's so warm, which is why I'm not wearing it today, because Florida had its one morning of 69-degree weather, and that was it. We're back to 80s and humidity, which, I mean, it's the story of my life. I only lived 2 years in Syracuse, New York, where I got to experience glorious autumnal weather. So, hey-ho. But yes, so this is my finished object, and it's, as I said, it'll be a pattern available exclusively at Luna Yarns. I do not think Claudia has opened a separate Etsy shop for it. I'm pretty sure she's still selling it under Crochet Luna. So I will include her Etsy shop details in the down bar below. And if you have any questions about the yarn, how it feels, and all that, I talked about it in the previous podcast, but I can also write up a blog post, because I think I owe you guys more blog posts. I'm usually focusing on patterns, so I treat my blog as a kind of pattern central for free patterns. But yes, I've been meaning to write more bloggy type blog posts to share my experiences as a designer, and how, working with different yarns and all that, and how I adapt wool to warm weather crafting, because this is a fine example for it. This is really, really warm. So when it gets to 50-degree weather here, I could definitely wear this with a long sleeve shirt and call it a day, and I won't be cold. It is that glorious. I used 2 hanks of yarn to make this waistcoat, and as I said, I made a size medium. I had a little nugget of it left over, which I do not think I have here with me to show you, but I did have a tiny little bit left over. Of course, all this yardage detail will only matter if you have my exact gauge, because gauge varies, so amount of yarn used will vary. All right, so that is my one and only finished object for this podcast. But I do have a lot of other things to share with you, and I think I'm going to start by something that you haven't seen in blippin' ever, and it is my Spicier Life blanket. Yes, I have not ripped my Spicier Life blanket out, and it is a pattern by the lovely Sandra of Cherry Heart, who I hope is taking good care of herself and just processing. In case you're wondering, you can watch Sandra's podcast to find out why I said that. It's very personal, and it's not my story to tell. But she did mention it in her podcast. So anyway, Clarissa, back on track, please. I picked up the Spicier Life blanket again, and it doesn't look like I've done much. Actually, do you even remember where I left off? Because the only reason I know is because my dog kind of when he was a puppy, he dug this blanket out of my stash and he just ripped off. Well, he carried it all over the apartment and the yarn ball got caught on a door, so he ripped back 3 rows. Not too much. But, so yes, this is a Spicier Life blanket, which is, as I said, a design by Sandra of Cherry Heart. And it's just, oh, the colors are so, so gorgeous. And this is Stylecraft Special DK. I picked it up and I managed to do two rows before I got injured. But essentially, I was talking to Mom and I was telling her, you know, if I were to fold this blanket in half, it goes right around my waist to be a cardigan. So this Spicier Life blanket might turn into the Spicier Life cardigan. And actually, I think it will be, because my thing about blankets is that I can solve my feet being cold by wearing socks, and my legs I can just wear long pants. But my arms and hands get really, really cold. So what I tend to do is to put a blanket so my hands just peek out from under it. So essentially like a Snuggie-ish, but I don't own a Snuggie. Anyway, so yeah, this might actually end up being the Spicier Life cardigan. And I just added the 2 pink rows here, as I said, before I got injured. And I'll tell you a little bit about my injury, non-planned, unplanned. Whoever plans on being injured, I don't think anybody does. So yeah, I'm working that up in the Stylecraft Special DK, and I believe I have the Jaipur colorway. And I'm always amazed by how soft Stylecraft is. I know, you know, if you, listen, Red Heart Super Saver is probably the toughest acrylic yarn out there, and it's not that nice to work with. But there are other brands that are very soft, but for some reason, crocheting with a DK weight acrylic just feels so soft. And oh, I probably should mention what hook I'm using, because Sandra says that you should always have a consistent gauge. So if you need to change your hook size with the stitches to match that gauge, that's fine. I found that with a USG hook, which is 4.25, I have a very consistent gauge, so that's what I'm using. Okay, so that is an unexpected work in progress that managed to get 2 rows. The other work in progress that I have was inspired by a quilt tapestry that my neighbor gifted me with, and it's a beautiful Halloween tapestry that says it's all about the boots, and I'll insert a picture here because it's just so gorgeous to not share it with you guys. But I was looking through my stash when I received that because, as I mentioned previously, I wanted Halloween type cushions. And this also coincided with a mini trip to Marshall's that I made trying to find a gift for my sister, because her birthday was on the 9th of October and I wanted to find a nice birthday card, which, do you know how hard it is to find a nice birthday card this day and age? Either the message is lovely and the card is crap, or the card is crap, or the message is crap and the card is lovely, and they want to charge you $8 for it. So anyway, I did that. I went to Marshall's and I saw this lady buying all the Halloween stuff. I kid you not. She had 2 carts with all the Halloween stuff, and what caught my eye was a sign and a cushion that said Boo, and it was kind of in a rustic black and, not rustic, sorry, like faded orange and black color, but it was in a burlap type fabric. I'm pretty sure it was canvas, but it looked burlappy, and I just thought, that is the perfect Halloween and fall combination, and I need that in my life. So I looked through my stash and I had odds and ends of this black yarn and this kind of frilly orange Isaac Mizrahi yarn. So I combined them because they really do look like the black and orange that's in the tapestry. And I didn't really do much. I just crocheted until it measured 16 inches, and I'm using single crochets, and then I switched to the orange yarn. I held the orange yarn double, and since I was using squished single crochet stitches, I used a 10mm hook instead of the 9mm hook that I was using for the black. And I haven't done the back because I want to sew the back so that I can get that canvas burlappy look of the Marshall's cushions that I really liked. I could have also done tapestry crochet, but I really wanted squishy single crochet cushion. Anyway, so it's not really a cushion, and it's still a work in progress because even though I finished the crochet part, I haven't done the sewing part. I haven't really done any crafting actually for the past week. I'll explain. I will. I'm not just saying I'll explain to keep you in suspense and then never talk about it. I will talk about it. So that is work in progress 1, 2, 2. And then the third work in progress is a design in progress that was inspired by a yarn I acquired, hoping to purchase warehouse amounts of it, dye it up, and sell it to you guys. But even though I absolutely love the yarn, I have some reservations. So what I'm talking about is this yarn that I purchased, which is a wool linen soy cotton blend yarn that just drew me in like nobody's business. Because if you guys have watched my podcast long enough, you know that I love combination. Like I love finding new fibers that are spun together to make gorgeous woolly things. So I was hoping that because this is a wool, soy, linen, cotton blend, that it would be, and it's fingering weight, that it would be appropriate for Florida. But it's actually still really, really warm. This is 50% wool as well. So it's still really, really warm, but I wanted to crochet, as I said, something Florida appropriate for it. I started out by doing a gauge swatch, as you saw in the previous episode, of the summer fan top. But the summer fan top has a very lacy kind of Edwardian style neckline, which this yarn is a little bit too rustic to actually show off prettily. So that's what I felt. And as such, I decided to make a whole new design. So I am working bottom up, crocheting a top, and it's also very tight because I kind of went for the 50s, 60s vibe where you have a very tight body, and it will stretch anyway, so it won't be that tight. But I did an Instagram story this week or maybe last week where I was just in love with how safe and warm this crochet made me feel, because it did feel like a corset, you know, just holding your insides all toasty warm. Not that it's going to be very tight, but okay, I'm not explaining myself well, I apologize. What I meant to say, this piece of crochet made me feel really, really safe. I know, that's kind of funny. But I was working on this with the yarn, and I'm only on my second ball, which means I've used up 100 grams of yarn because they are 50-gram hanks. But if you look inside, there are a lot of ends to weave in. And that is because I encountered that this yarn had a lot of parts where it was just fiber. It didn't have any twist to it, or this is a 2-ply yarn, I should also say. It didn't have any plies or twist to it, and I didn't want those to appear in the design. So I started cutting them out, and it made me very annoyed because if this is something that I want to sell to kind of, you know, I love this yarn, I do, and I want you to love it too, but can I fully back a yarn that is sometimes so thick and thin that you will actually have to just cut? And I'm trying to test it thoroughly, so it might just be that these two hanks had that quality control issue, but it might not. So I'm going to keep on seeing what is up with the yarn because I really wanted to be able to sell it. It's absolutely lovely, and I had already planned the colors, of course, and I had also planned the little kits they were going to be sold in. It was just a matter of acquiring all the things, which, you know, when you start doing the math, it was a bit scary, I'm not gonna lie. But that is living in my Betsy Makes little mustard bag, and I have nothing more to say. I really love this yarn, and I don't know if you can see kind of the texture-y. I'm using a textured stitch too, so it's gonna look very, very warm and texture-y. I was kind of going for the fisherman's rib style sweater look where it's very toasty and it just makes you want to cuddle and hug it, because that's exactly what I want to do with this. And in terms of crochet, those are my 3 works in progress. I also did a tiny bit of knitting on my mom's Christmas socks. So I think I already showed you that I had finished 1 sock and I realized I did the stitch pattern for the whole sock, you know, like the whole tube, which if you don't knit socks, you might be going, okay, what's the problem with that? Well, you know, ideally you want the bottom of the foot part to just be knit stitches and not, you know, textured. But I tried them on and it wasn't too bad, so I decided that I'm just going to do the same mistake for the second sock. I finished the cuff while reading a book, or while having a book read to me. So I finished the cuff and I'm ready to start the little stitch pattern. It's not matching 100% because this one has less blue in the cuff than this one. This is a self-striping yarn by Mustache Yarns, and it was called Noel, First Noel, something Christmas related. I don't have the ball band anymore. But this, I haven't weighed it, but I think this used up 25 grams because I have enough to make the second sock, I'm pretty sure. And of course this is just a tube, so I'll have to insert the heel later on, but that will be fine because I'm not going to be the one inserting the heel because I'm so nervous, not about cutting the heel, but about cutting it in a place where it won't fit Mom. That's what I'm nervous about. So it might be her job to cut into that heel. So that's all that I've been up to this week. And now that I say that's all, it still feels like I've been up to a lot. Even though like I said, I didn't really crochet this week because I was helping my husband move a desk, and there was a lack of communication between us and my fingers got smushed. And I didn't break them. They were bruised, pretty bruised. I can now bend the fingers on my right hand and it's not painful. It's just a tiny bit uncomfortable in the knuckle area of my middle and ring finger on my right hand. It's still a little nummy, like if I do this, it just feels really, really weird. But my left hand, that's all I can do. I can move these two, and the stretch I feel here is a tiny bit uncomfortable, but I can deal with it. But it's just bending these other fingers is, I'm showing it up to the camera, but yeah, it's very, very uncomfortable. And they're stiff, so they don't move more than this right now. But I know that they're not broken. They're just still more bruised than my right hand fingers because they did get smushed more. So that stopped all crocheting and everything. Actually, my husband had to take care of the house, the dog, and cooking and all that for this entire week, which was very stressful for him. But hey, you know, neither of us planned on me getting hurt. But yeah, that put a stop to all sorts of crocheting, which is very, very sad. But it didn't stop any of our plans from forming because I was having this little conversation with Mom. She texted me and asked me if I wanted to co-host a Harry Styles type crochet cardigan with her based on the crochet cardigan adaptation that Rosina of Zines and Roger posted on her blog. I didn't know what she was talking about because I had not seen Rosina pop up on my Instagram feed. So I, lo and behold, went to look at this cardigan and I just said, yeah, let's do that. So I messaged Rosina and asked if she would mind terribly if we hosted a cal for this cardigan. And she said no, which is super, super kind of her because she was the one that went through all this trouble, you know, putting together instructions on, a recipe on how to make this cardigan. So Mom and I decided that the way we are going to be hosting this cal is going to be it's going to be super fun. And we're calling it the oddmentscardical cal, which I'm super excited about. And in case you don't know, oddments literally means odds and ends. It's just so much fancier. And the way we've decided to do this is that we are going to do some Zoom meetings between us, and we are going to chat about how we're coordinating our colors and everything based off, of course, the instructions that Rosina provided. And the first meeting, we're going to be recording it soon, and it's going to go live. So originally it was going to go live the 4th or the 5th of November so we could have something to look forward to after the elections in the United States, which I am angry about, I am frustrated about, I am annoyed. I have been feeling all sorts of feelings for all this process of elections and electing a new judge and everything. And this is not a political podcast, so I will not get into my political views or anything like that. But I just wanted to express how upset and angry I've been at all this. So looking forward to this oddmentscardical was the perfect thing to plan while I was injured and couldn't crochet. So we are planning on possibly next week recording the Zoom meeting where we're going to chat about colors, what yarns we're going to be using, and what stitches we're going to be combining, and all that jazz. So I hope you're excited. I want you to be excited. I'm excited, and I would love it if you'd be able to participate because this is a great stash busting project, and I feel that it came at the perfect time of year too, because typically if you're giving crochet gifts, you would be finishing them by now, or maybe starting them. Guilty. But the point is you would probably have a lot of yarn left over that you wouldn't know what to do with. So putting them together in a cardigan for you, or you know, if you want to gift it to somebody else, I think it was just a wonderful idea. So thank you, Mom, for coming up with this idea. And thank you for wanting to include me. So yeah, we're partnering, the three of us, Rosina, me, and my mom and I, we're just partnering for this. Rosina is going to be giving away some patterns as well. So we're already even discussing little things to do for you guys. And it's going to be a year-long cal, so do not feel the pressure to finish it now because, you know, you might use up all your oddments now, but you'll have, pardon me, but you'll have some later. So it's meant to be a fun cal for you guys. And that is all the exciting crochet news. So if you were just here for the crochet, thank you so much for sticking with me and for giving my podcast a chance to bring you a tiny bit of joy to your life. And now I'm going to be moving on to what Kristen Vollenvine calls the blather segment, which I think is very, very appropriate because I tend to blather and blab and just at the end of my podcast. So if you want to tune off now, I'm not offended. Let me just put a nice pose for you. And if you want to have a little chat about what's been going on in my life, then it's starting now. I don't know about you guys. Mercury's in retrograde and it's just been blech. Okay, this week it's just been blech. I smushed my fingers and, you know, the dog, the mascot from my alma mater died once again. It's a bulldog, in case you're wondering, so they don't really have long lives. He was Tarzan 11, but he was the one that walked me down the graduation aisle, and he was the one that walked my husband down the graduation aisle, so you kind of feel a little, you know, a little affinity I guess you could say, for that. And so, you know, we're getting ready to welcome the holiday seasons, but with COVID, my husband and I decided that we shouldn't be traveling. It might change. We might get desperate and just go, rah! But we decided it was probably best not to travel because his mom takes care of his grandmother, you know, my grandmother-in-law and my aunt-in-law, and they don't have the best immune system, so we don't want to risk my mother-in-law getting sick. We don't want to risk my mother getting sick because mom has some delicate lung issues right now as well. And yeah, and so the week sort of ended with my neighbor, who I'm very, very close to. She's like my grandmother here in the States, just telling me that she was going to give me all her yarn, 2 baskets full of yarn, which I have right here next to me. I have one of the baskets full of gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. And then she called me and we kind of met in her backyard, and she said that she may or may not have ovarian cancer. She does have a tumor, and it's, you know, we'll know more details on Tuesday, but it just wasn't the news you want to hear. I don't think anybody ever wants to hear those news about people they're close to. So that's how the week ended, and I might have had a bit of a tear fest due to that because I'm really close to her. And I kind of knew something was wrong when she said she was going to give me her Halloween quilt, because she's just like me. She loves decorating with witch boots on Halloween. So having her give me that quilt, I was, you know, but yeah, so what are you going to do? You know, you can only try and be as positive and supportive as you can and fight the fight, you know, be there for the people you love and the people you've grown close to, and just, yeah, just be human, I guess, you know, be human. But in other non-sad news, I invested, or not really invested, I downloaded some Prime reading books, so they're free if you've got Amazon Prime, and one of them was Please Like Me But Stay Away by, I forget her name, but it was an audiobook, and it was like a 30-minute thing, just a story about social anxiety and how you kind of just get to the point where you need to come to terms, where you come to terms with it. You deal with what you can and you don't bother with what you can't deal with, right? And it was just so funny because I felt that, you know. Sometimes when you're in a big group, I'm like, please like me, but don't approach. I don't know if that ever happens to you guys, but I'm excited that I get to cook, craft, and crochet again, because honestly, you work a lot with your hands, but you don't realize how much you depend on your hands until you can't really move them correctly, and you can't grab things, and you can't crochet, and you can't type without getting pain in your fingers. So it's been a week of revelations, but it's also been a week of gratitude. Grateful for a lot of things this week that sometimes just take for granted. So yeah, I'm pretty sure, other than watching Fire Force, that's all I've been up to. And if you're not familiar with, Fire Force is an anime that I watch with my husband. It started out really cool, and now I'm just like, all y'all suck. All of you characters, what happened? That's what I feel right now. And this is why Clarissa Beth, me, Crochet Cakes, does not watch series. Because she always gets to the point where she just wants to beat all the characters with a bat over the head, you know, just lightly. It's not like a death sentence or anything. Just, you know, a light tap just to go, boop, what are you thinking about? So that's been me this week. I've just actually done a lot of reading, a lot of introspection, and a lot of, yeah, introspection really sums it up. I've just been thinking about why I'm so negative towards my business ideas and all that. So it's been a week. If you, like me, have felt this way, feel free. If you want to share it with me privately, you can message me via Instagram, via Ravelry, via my website. You may do so, or if you want to share here on the comments section in YouTube, please do so as well. But that is it for today's episode. So I want to thank you guys very, very much for all your support and for all of your comments and your likes and your shares, and just generally I want to thank you for being you and for crafting on and crafting to make the world a better place, because I think that it is within our power to do that. I think we can crochet the world a better place, and I am not talking about Yoshi's Crochet Yarn Adventure or whatever that's called. I'm talking about literally crocheting the world a better place. So thank you guys for watching today's podcast and for commenting, liking, subscribing, and all that jazz. I hope you have a wonderful 2 weeks, and I will see you in the next podcast. Bye. Happy crafting.